So let's, anyone with a question, please come up front and we'll try to keep it brief, but hopefully we can.
Hi, my name is Ben, and I have a quick question, Mr. Finkelstein. I'm trying my best to be very neutral in regards to the conflict, and I'm trying to find like a peaceful compromise or solution for both Israel and the Palestinians, but is there a clear idea over the nature of Palestine if it were ever to become a state? Will it, I mean, in a nutshell, will it be a democracy? Will it be secular? Will there be a heavy religious influence on the government? I mean, will it be an ally to the United States? I mean, that's about my question.
Well, the answer would seem to me to be that you have to apply the same standards to the Palestinians as you would to any other country in the world. So there are now currently 194 countries in the United Nations. Do those nations, as a condition for their independence and sovereignty, as a condition for their independence and sovereignty, do they have to be friends of the United States? Is that a condition? Is Cuba disqualified from being a state because it's not a friend of the United States? Is Iran disqualified? Now, let's take a second question you asked. Religion. There are many states in the world where religion plays a big role. Whether you like it or not, it's just factually the case. Are all of those countries disqualified from their rights to independent self-determination and sovereignty because religion plays a big role in the state? It seems that we're back at the same place. Are we going to apply the same standard to Palestinians as we do to everyone else? Or are we going to conjure new conditions? I would say, and I don't mean this facetiously, I'm really trying to be serious because it's a seriously intended question. One of the things you asked is, will it be a democracy? I think if the proverbial Martian, the extraterrestrial, were to land on our planet, I'm not sure if the U.S. would pass the test of a real democracy. I really don't. I'm not convinced of that. As the slogan has it to the folks who occupy Wall Street, we are the 99%. And I was at the last demonstration on Thursday, and there were many very clever signs. The sign I liked the most read, "Let me make this abundantly clear. 99% is greater than 1%. And there seems to be a misunderstanding among the 1% who think that in terms of rights, that they are entitled to more basic rights than the 99%. So we have a long, arduous task ahead of us before, in my opinion, we meet even the most basic standard of democracy. So if we were to use that as their standard, we would, I think, be disqualifying ourselves from the right to self-determination in statehood, which I wouldn't do. We have the right, even though I don't think it's rhetorical to say that ours resembles more plutocracy than a democracy. I mean, the whole idea of Mr. Obama, he says he has to raise $1 billion to run for president. So it means that if you can't raise $1 billion, you can't, and you're not able, we've come a long way from Abe Lincoln. Not that that was any great shape, but this is just ridiculous. Sure, you're welcome. Thank you for the respectful question.
Hello, Mr. Finkelstein. My name is Maddie, and I want to ask you a question about the recent, offering pieces that have happened. I think there might have been one in 2006 that had been offered by...
You're talking much too quickly and not into the microphone. I can't get you, nobody else can.
Yeah, I think in either 2006 or 2007, David O'Meara offered some sort of peace deal. I just wonder if you could give a quick summary of your views on it, your opinions, or if I'm wrong that deal didn't have the most recent deal that has been offered.
Okay. It's a little bit of a technical question, so I'll just try to cast it in terms that will make it accessible to everyone in the audience. The former Prime Minister of Israel was a fellow named Ehud Olmert, and in 2007, in March 2007, he privately put forth a deal to the Palestinians to resolve the conflict. The exact terms of the deal are not really well known because what happened was he invited the Palestinian leader of the Palestinian Authority, a fellow named Mahmoud Abbas, into his office, and he said, look at this map, this is what I'm offering, and I'm offering this as well. And so nobody really knows exactly what he was offering. Then he claimed that he was offering to keep only 6.8% of the West Bank. In fact, if you look at the calculations, not worth going into, he wanted to keep 8.7%, which is the same position as all the Israelis. They all want to keep the settlement blocks. And he wanted to keep all the settlement blocks. Every Israeli proposal is roughly to keep about 9% of the West Bank. And some of you may think, oh, what's 9%? You know, but you have to remember, as the Palestinians, I think, correctly said, the issue is not percentages. It's what you're asking for. East Jerusalem, technically, is only 1% of the West Bank. It's 1%. But as every Palestinian will tell you, it's inconceivable to have a Palestinian state without East Jerusalem. All of its leading cultural institutions, medical institutions, everything. And East Jerusalem is the heart of what's called metropolitan Jerusalem. Metropolitan Jerusalem stretches to Ramallah in the north and Bethlehem in the south. And metropolitan Jerusalem accounts for 30 to 40% of the Palestinian economy. So they said, yeah, in percentages it's just 1%. But it's a crucial 1%. It's the difference between New York City, which is, what is it? There are 300 million Americans, and New York is about 7 million people. So that's 2%. But it's a difference between 2% of New York versus 2% of Idaho. And the proposal he put forth was, and it was interesting to read the Palestinians, because they were not being sort of ideological and they weren't being inflexible. They were just saying, as a practical matter, there can't be a state. There are several Palestinians here. You three? Is it conceivable a Palestinian state without East Jerusalem? It's not a state. So, the Olmert proposal falls within the same parameters as everything the Israelis have been offering. A tiny bit less. Most Israeli offers are around 9%. He was saying 8.7. And he also said nothing, he said 0 on the refugees. He said on the refugees, 5,000 can come back.
All right, this will have to be the last question because we are on time. So.
How you doing, sir? My name is Ahmed. My first question is, I have two short questions. The first question is the ideology of Zionism and Judaism obviously contradict. Therefore, on what basis, in your opinion, do the leaders of the Zionist movement ask and demand for the state of Israel to be considered as a Jewish state? And my second question is, there was a law, I'm not a law student, so I'm not going to use proper terms, but there was a law implemented in 1989 by the U.S. stating that any organization that supports the Palestine as a full member state will not receive any funds from the United States. Again, what justification allows them to do this? Thank you.
On the first question, it happens that I wrote my doctoral dissertation many eon ago on the theory of Zionism. So I have a kind of stake in keeping the question alive. Not that I'll ever get a job again, but that's just because I wrote my dissertation on it. I just don't think the question of the relationship between Zionism and Judaism, I think it's an internal question for Jews. Just like, for me, the question of a schism between Shias and Sunnis, it's not my issue. It may be an intellectual issue and a political issue, but it's not a personal issue to me. It's something for Shia and Sunnis to work out. And I don't think we should, as a political question, we should involve ourselves in Zionism, Judaism, You know, for 3,000 years, Jews are trying to figure out what is a Jew. So, do you really want to get involved in that kind of debate and discussion? I think it's much more useful to simply to apply to this conflict the same legal criteria that are applied to every other conflict, stick to the law, and not get bogged down in these kinds of discussions, because there's nothing that Israelis would like more to discuss than Judaism. We'll talk about till the end of time, you won't agree on anything, and meanwhile they will have conquered the whole of the West Bank. So I think we shouldn't get get distracted with these sorts of questions. As to what's the basis of this law, the basis is very simple. Jews contribute significantly to the Republican and Democratic parties, much more the Democratic Party. And so, in order to get campaign contributions, we enact any laws that will get us elected. That's the only basis. These laws are just, you're observed on their face. It's very cynical, but there's a lot of cynicism upstairs, but you know what? There's a whole lot of hope and idealism downstairs. So I say leave them to their cynicism and their dirty deals and their manipulations and everything else, and let's focus on what we want to do.
Mr. Finkelstein, very briefly, I know I'm cheating right now.
No, you're not cheating. You're expressing your opinion.
Thank you very much. Recently, during the annual General Assembly, President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, he presented, as you stated, the application for Palestine to be recognized as a state by the United Nations. What do you foresee, or what are your predictions? Is that going to be taken realistically into consideration, or is that going to be ignored just like everything else has been?
Look, that's the reason we made the video. There are possibilities here. It is a very tough struggle, and you can't win it. You cannot win it the way the so-called Palestinian Authority is going about it. You can't just make plane flights to Colombia and Bosnia, that's what the boss is doing now. No, you have to do it the way the Zionist movement did it. In 1947, it didn't look good that they would get the votes they need in the General Assembly to get the partition resolution. You would not believe, it's kind of breathtaking, how they mobilized all the resources they had, making the phone calls, making the pleas. They ended up having to, or they or their supporters, bribing, threatening Liberia, bribing, threatening the Philippines, bribing, threatening Haiti to get the votes. But they also got masses of people out there, huge demonstrations, people giving every last cent. You may not like it, you may respect it or not respect it, but the Jews were determined after the Nazi Holocaust they're going to get this state, whatever it takes, and they invested their whole being into it. And it was one of those moments, it was a very strange moment in politics. You know why? You're of course much too young to remember. The Cold War had already begun, but both the U.S. and Russia supported the partition. It was an unusual moment. The two adversaries which had disagreed on everything to the point of, the verge of war, even nuclear war, they both agreed on this. It was a moment. And now we're at a moment. Turkey, Egypt, Arab Spring, things are happening. But it could pass. It could pass, and we will have squandered another opportunity. It can't be done the way they're doing it. It has to be done by all of us. If we get involved, maybe you can get that vote from Bosnia, Colombia, or Portugal. Then the U.S. will be forced to veto. It'll be a problem for the U.S. to veto. You have to remember why, and I know then I have to leave. Why is it a problem? Everybody knows for the last 30 years the U.S. has been vetoing right and left for Palestine. Why is it that Barack Obama now got so upset about using his veto? American presidents have been using dozens of vetoes in the Security Council. The reason is obvious. You want to know what the reason is? It's the Arab Spring. Because now there's popular momentum in the Arab world. And if he uses that veto, there's trouble. Because the people have awakened. The people are awake. And he already saw the handwriting on the wall with what happened to the Israeli consulate in Egypt. People are getting sick of it in the Arab world. No, you're not going to do that, Mr. Obama. And so now he's doing everything he can to avoid the veto. There are new things happening now. I said you have to strike while the iron is hot. Tomorrow there can be no Saudi-inspired counter-revolution and everything will be undone. Probably not, but could happen. And then we're back to where we were. You know, it's an opportunity now. Palestine rock, shout, shout, shout. There's a chance now. And we have to do everything we can to exploit that opportunity.
Thank you very much.
How'd you like the video? Okay. Extra credit to the person who can tell who was singing. Who was singing? Nobody knows? Me? Believe me, if I had a voice like that, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be the Metropolitan Opera. It was Mahalia Jackson, the great, great, great African-American spiritualist. So sad. Remember that. That's a voice.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming. And once again, for overtime, Dr. Finkelstein, I'm really happy you came. And donations outside if you like this event. Not hard, but donate to, buy his books.